Welcome back, and joining me again, our Georgia Democratic Representative Darshan Kendrick from Lithonia and Executive Director of the Georgia Life Alliance, Joshua Edwards. Georgia has the best tax incentives, is what we were talking about earlier, for filmmakers trying to do work in our state, and they love to come here. You guys don't think that that's really going to create a problem, and you're encouraging people not to boycott, as Alyssa Milano was doing with friends here in the state, but just to vote people out of office.
Or vote them out of office and donate money. I mean, candidates need money to run for office. Obviously, I'm in leadership in the Georgia House Democratic Caucus, so I'm always looking for ways to expand that caucus. But just a clarification, even though I'm not supporting a boycott, I do think if there are enough people, it could have an impact. So I'm going to clarify my statement.
Okay. And Josh, you said you went into this trying to create a law that would really work here in Georgia.
That's right. You know, when we wrote and passed this law, the intent was for it to go into effect. We believe in the language of this bill, and so the intent's not to have a court case, and the only way that there'll be a judicial question about whether or not this law is constitutional is if opponents of the bill sue the state and bring it before the court. So whether or not there's a court case about it is not up to supporters of the bill.
And there are caveats in this law. Can you talk about some of those where it would not go into effect, incest being one of them?
That's right. There are exceptions in the law for children who are conceived in rape or incest, and children who will not survive after birth. And you know, people have been talking about this law. If a child in the womb is a person, then why are there exceptions to when they can be protected? And when we introduced this bill, it had no exceptions in it. In fact, it actually removed the medically fetal pregnancy exception that has been in law since 2012, because we recognize if the child is a person, they should be protected. There's no difference in the biology or genetics of a child conceived in rape and one not. But when it got through the committee process, our lawmakers felt they needed to strike a balance between those difficult circumstances people find themselves in and the right to life of the child, and so they wrote those exceptions in.
Quite a polarizing issue. We know a lot of businesses have been moving here to Georgia lately. Do you think that will have any effect on some of the major companies, Fortune 500 companies coming here because of this law that we now have in effect?
It really could, because when you're talking about quality of life and for women who are excelling in the workforce and being able to make the difficult choices that they should be making between family members and their doctor, I think you will see internal discussions with companies who have women or people who are obviously who are not women about their quality of life if they decide to move here and to move their headquarters here. But just a clarification, there's a caveat to the caveat that the gentleman mentioned. If you are a victim of rape or incest, you do have to file a police report. So I want to make sure that that is inserted in. It's not just you claim rape or incest. You actually have to file a police report. And so you see the difficulties in that.
And what was the purpose for that?
Well, you know, when we're talking about someone who has been victimized by the heinous act of rape, we want to make sure that if we're providing this exception to protect a woman, we also want to make sure that we're providing a way to punish the perpetrator of that crime. So by filing a police report, we're able to actually take action against rapists and put them behind bars so they cannot hurt women or children ever again.
How many women helped you write this bill?
There is a large group of female lawmakers, female attorneys in the governor's office, lieutenant governor's office, and on staff of several organizations who help with this bill, who are integral in putting this piece of legislation together.
But when you first started, how many women were actually around the table talking with you about this needs to happen?
The primary attorneys who worked on this legislation in the initial meetings were all female.
Were all female?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you talked to any of the other people who worked on this bill, the women who were a part of this?
I've had an opportunity, obviously, to speak to my colleagues, and listen, this is a polarizing issue, so I think you're going to have men. I see people on my Twitter feed every day who support my position. You're going to find women who support his. But at the end of the day, I believe that since women are the ones that are committed, really committed to 9 to 10 months of this process, they should be the ones that are ultimately going to make the decision.
Because we did try and get some of the women that worked on this with you to come and join us for this discussion. Busy time for folks.
It is.
In the summer.
Summertime.
But just wanted to hear from some of the other people who think that this is going to be an attractive idea for companies and for businesses who are moving here with their headquarters, with, as the Senator said, a lot of women coming into the area. Do you think that, Representative, do you think that we will see a big push to keep this out of Georgia?
I don't believe so. You know, Georgia has been the #1 state for business for so many years now, and we have an attractive economy, an attractive business economy and climate for folks to bring their companies to our state, and I believe they're going to continue to do that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and that is the end of this discussion for now here, but I'm sure it will continue in households all over the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
When we come back, we know about slider crimes, right? Well, if you don't, you should. When we come back, we're going to talk to a local law enforcement person who has had a rash of them in their county and tell you how you can avoid becoming a victim. These people are slick.